100 souls vanished. No struggle, no bodies. Just a single, chilling word etched into the silence. Croatoan. Was it a clue, a warning, or the gateway to an enigma that has haunted America for centuries? Forget the history books. Forget the simple answers. Because beneath the surface of Roanoke lies a mystery woven with ancient magic, whispered spirits, and a darkness that swallowed an entire colony whole. Prepare to question everything you thought you knew. The truth is far more terrifying. Intrigued by the shadows of history and the whispers of the unseen? Then delve deeper into the esoteric currents that shape our world. Subscribe to Esoteric Philosophy now and unlock the hidden wisdom behind the mysteries that history tries to bury. Join our quest to unravel the forgotten truths. The journey into the unknown begins here. Welcome to Esoteric Philosophy. The Roanoke colony represents the early and ultimately unsuccessful attempts by England to establish a permanent settlement in North America during the late 16th century. Driven by a combination of economic aspirations, geopolitical rivalry with Spain, and the allure of new territories, Sir Walter Raleigh, under a charter from Queen Elizabeth I, spearheaded these ventures. The initial reconnaissance expedition in 1584, led by Philip Amadas and Arthur Barlow, explored the coast of what is now North Carolina, including Roanoke Island. Their positive reports of fertile land and friendly native populations fueled the ambition for a larger settlement. The first attempt at colonization followed in 1585, with Ralph Lane appointed as governor. This expedition, which included the artist and cartographer John White and the scientist Thomas Harriot, faced numerous challenges from the outset. Poor planning, dwindling supplies, and strained relations with the local Algonquian tribes quickly led to hardship and conflict. After a difficult winter and increasing hostility, the surviving colonists, eager to return home, were unexpectedly rescued by Sir Francis Drake's fleet in 1586. Despite this initial failure, Raleigh remained determined. A second attempt at establishing a permanent colony was launched in 1587, this time led by John White, who envisioned a more self-sustaining community, including women and children. They arrived at Roanoke Island later than planned, finding the previous settlement abandoned and in disrepair. Facing a critical shortage of supplies and with the planting season already advanced, the colonists urged Governor White to return to England to procure much-needed provisions. White reluctantly agreed, departing in late 1587 with the understanding that the colonists would relocate inland by 50 miles if they encountered trouble, leaving a sign indicating their destination, the name of a nearby friendly tribe or a symbol. White's return to England was significantly delayed by the ongoing Anglo-Spanish War, including the threat of the Spanish Armada. He was unable to organize a relief expedition until 1590. When White finally returned to Roanoke Island on August 18, 1590, he found the settlement deserted. The only clues to the fate of the approximately 115 colonists were the word Croatoan carved into a palisade post and the letters CRO carved into a nearby tree. Despite searches, no further trace of the colonists was ever definitively discovered, leading to the enduring mystery of the lost colony of Roanoke. Roanoke, the spectral echo of a colony vanished from the shores of the New World. But to truly grasp its enduring enigma, we must journey beyond the conventional narratives, delving into the intricate tapestry of spirituality and magic that permeated Elizabethan England, the very land that dispatched these hopeful pioneers towards an unfathomable destiny. In an age where nascent science and ancient superstition intertwined, where the celestial dance of astrology guided pivotal decisions, and where the cryptic art of alchemy promised hidden truths. The Roanoke expedition may have been imbued with intentions and influenced by forces that mainstream history has largely overlooked. Today, we shall unearth the potential esoteric connections that could have shaped the fate of these lost souls, including the enigmatic figure of Dr. John Dee, the Queen's own arcane advisor, and the mystical currents that pulsed through the very heart of the Virgin Queen's court. Prepare to question the accepted, for the mists of Roanoke conceal secrets far deeper than simple historical record. The England of Queen Elizabeth I was a vibrant, paradoxical realm, a burgeoning center of innovation, and yet deeply rooted in ancient traditions. As the Age of Reason began its slow ascent, ancestral beliefs in magic, astrology, and a pervasive spirit world remained potent and influential across all strata of society, from the lowliest peasant to the highest echelons of the aristocracy. Queen Elizabeth herself, a shrewd and intellectually curious monarch, was known to consult astrologers seeking celestial guidance for matters of state and personal safety. She surrounded herself with learned figures, none more intriguing than Dr. John Dee, a polymath of immense intellect, a renowned scholar, mathematician, astronomer, geographer, and for many of his contemporaries, a powerful magus and esoteric counselor. Dr. Dee, a man who straddled the worlds of nascent science and profound mysticism, believed fervently in the possibility of communicating with angelic intelligences, seeking a primordial wisdom that he believed held the key to unlocking the universe's deepest secrets. His pursuits encompassed alchemy, not merely as a means to transmute base metals into gold, but as a spiritual discipline aimed at the purification of the soul and the understanding of cosmic processes. He was also deeply invested in sacred geometry, believing that numerical and geometric harmonies held the very blueprint of creation. His extensive library, one of the largest in England at the time, housed countless volumes on these esoteric arts, reflecting the intellectual climate of an era where the boundaries between the rational and the mystical were fluid and permeable. This prevailing spiritual atmosphere was far from detached from the burgeoning ambitions of exploration and the quest for new lands. The New World, shrouded in mystery and rumor, was not simply viewed as a source of potential wealth and resources. Many believed it could also harbor potent magical secrets, untapped sources of terrestrial power, or even be inhabited by spiritual entities unknown to European consciousness. Voyages across the Atlantic were not solely commercial ventures. They were also perceived as journeys into the unknown, explorations into both the physical and the metaphysical realms. The very timing of departures, the composition of expeditions, and even the strategic selection of settlement locations could very well have been influenced by astrological considerations, seeking propitious alignments, or by deeply held beliefs about the telluric energies, the spiritual currents of the land itself. The Elizabethan mind was one that readily sought meaning and omens in the natural world, blurring the lines between the mundane and the miraculous. While direct, irrefutable evidence explicitly linking Dr. John Dee to the specific planning and execution of the Roanoke colony remains elusive within the conventional historical record, the sheer magnitude of his influence at the Elizabethan court and his profound interest in the expansion of English power across the globe render an indirect connection not only plausible, but potentially significant. Dee, a trusted advisor to the Queen on matters both scientific and, arguably, arcane, dedicated considerable effort to the mapping of vast, uncharted territories of the New World. His intellectual framework, which posited the British monarchy as the inheritor of an ancient wisdom tradition, a lineage stretching back to mythical times, could very well have provided a philosophical and even a mystical underpinning for the entire vision of colonization. Could Dr. Dee have provided astrological counsel regarding the most auspicious times for the voyages? Did he perhaps imbue the very enterprise with a hidden quest for ancient knowledge believed to be concealed within the New World? It is conceivable that the selection of certain individuals within the expedition, those perhaps with an inclination towards the mystical or the understanding of natural magic, was not accidental. The very name Roanoke itself, when subjected to gematria or other forms of esoteric analysis popular at the time, might have held a hidden significance for those attuned to such practices. Sir Walter Raleigh, the principal driving force behind the Roanoke venture, was himself a figure steeped in the spirit of adventure and the pursuit of the extraordinary. In an era where the demarcation between scientific exploration and the pursuit of mythical wonders, lost cities of gold, fountains of youth, lands inhabited by strange and powerful beings, was often blurred, it would be far from surprising if the Roanoke enterprise carried with it an undercurrent, a subtle yearning for something beyond mere material wealth and territorial acquisition. Raleigh's own intellectual curiosity and his engagement with the philosophical and scientific ideas of his time could have made him receptive to the esoteric currents that permeated the Elizabethan court, potentially making him a conduit for Dee's influence, even if that influence was indirect or unspoken. The very act of venturing into the unknown was, for many in that era, an act imbued with spiritual significance, a testing of fate and a potential encounter with the divine or the demonic. Let us return to the enigmatic key, Croatoan. While the conventional interpretation points to the name of a Native American tribe inhabiting the nearby Hatteras Island within an esoteric context, this single carved word could resonate with far deeper, more ancient frequencies. The Algonquian tribes who populated the Roanoke region possessed a rich and complex cosmology, one deeply interwoven with the veneration of nature spirits, the power of animal totems, and a profound, almost mystical connection to the land itself. Could Croatoan have been more than just a tribal designation? Could it have been the name of a powerful local spirit, a guardian entity of the territory whose ancient slumber was disturbed by the arrival of the English settlers, unleashing unforeseen consequences? Hatteras Island, then known as Croatoan, was considered by some tribes to be a liminal space, a boundary where the veil between the human world and the spirit realm was particularly thin. Legends spoke of powerful earth energies residing there, of ancestral spirits tied to the very fabric of the land. If the colonists sought refuge on this island, as the single word suggests, could they have inadvertently entered a domain governed by rules and energies they utterly failed to comprehend? The complete absence of signs of violent conflict or struggle at the Roanoke settlement could hint at a non-human intervention, an absorption by ancestral forces that sought to reclaim their territory or perhaps offered a form of otherworldly passage to the bewildered newcomers. Consider the possibility that the very act of carving Croatoan was not merely a message, but a form of sympathetic magic, an attempt to invoke the protection or appease the spirits associated with that place. In a world where words held immense power, the utterance or inscription of a sacred name could be seen as a potent act capable of influencing unseen forces. The ambiguity of the message. Was it a destination, a plea for help from the Croatoan people, or an invocation of the land's spiritual guardians? Only deepens the esoteric mystery. Here, we venture into the shadowy terrain of informed speculation, guided by the esoteric context of the Elizabethan era and the lingering mysteries surrounding the disappearance. Could the vanishing of the Roanoke colonists have been a form of translocation, a passage facilitated by forces unknown to our modern scientific understanding? If some of the settlers were indeed imbued with mystical beliefs, or if they interacted with the potent energies of the land in an unusual or perhaps even ritualistic manner, Could they have experienced a destiny that defies our linear comprehension of life and death? One speculative theory, drawing upon the alchemical and spiritual currents of the time, suggests that some of the more mystically inclined colonists, perhaps seeking a radical new form of existence or influenced by the indigenous understanding of the land's spiritual power, did not simply join the Croatoan tribe in the conventional sense. Perhaps they underwent a form of spiritual fusion with the earth itself, their consciousness merging with the ancestral spirits of the place, leading to a physical dematerialization or a transition into a different dimensional reality. Another more unsettling possibility, influenced by the darker aspects of Elizabethan magic and folklore, is that a ritual or an attempt at esoteric connection with the land or its spirits went tragically awry, unleashing unforeseen and uncontrollable forces that led to the colony's inexplicable demise. Were they seeking to harness powers they did not understand, dabbling in the occult arts in a desperate attempt to survive or thrive in this new and alien world, only to become victims of their own hubris or ignorance? The lack of physical remains could be interpreted as evidence of a more profound and perhaps terrifying dissolution. Furthermore, the very concept of fairy or the good folk was deeply ingrained in the Elizabethan psyche. Could the colonists have inadvertently stumbled into the realm of these elusive beings, becoming lost in their timeless domains, forever separated from the mortal world? Tales of humans being spirited away by fairies were common, and the wild, untamed landscape of the New World might have been seen as a place where such encounters were more likely. Now, let us consider a thread that stretches through the annals of early American history, a whisper suggesting a far more complex and perhaps even miraculous survival: the enigmatic appearance of the Saponi people. Decades after the disappearance of the Roanoke colonists, early European explorers and settlers encountered a Native American tribe known as the Saponi, residing further inland, primarily in what is now North Carolina and Virginia. What makes their story particularly compelling in the context of the Roanoke Mystery are certain peculiar accounts associated with them. Some early chroniclers noted that the Saponi spoke a language that contained elements recognizable as English and possessed a knowledge of Christian beliefs and practices, customs seemingly foreign to other indigenous groups in the region who had not had extensive contact with Europeans. Could these observations be more than mere coincidence? Could the lost colonists of Roanoke, rather than being entirely absorbed by the Croatoan or succumbing to unknown forces, have journeyed inland, perhaps intermingling and integrating with another tribe, the Saponi? The distance between Roanoke and the traditional territories of the Saponi is significant, but not insurmountable for determined individuals seeking refuge or a new life. If a segment of the colonists did indeed travel westward and integrate with the Saponi, it could explain the later appearance of English linguistic elements and Christian knowledge within their culture. Perhaps a few key individuals among the colonists, possessing language skills and religious beliefs, managed to communicate and influence the Saponi over time. This scenario offers a more tangible, albeit still mysterious, pathway for the survival and continuation of at least a portion of the lost colony. However, this theory also raises profound questions. Why would the colonists leave the coast and undertake such a perilous journey inland? Were they fleeing conflict, seeking a more sustainable way of life, or perhaps guided by indigenous knowledge of safer territories? And how did they manage to integrate so successfully that their English and Christian influences persisted decades later? Furthermore, if a portion of the colonists found refuge with the Saponi, does this negate the possibility of more esoteric forces being at play in the initial disappearance from Roanoke itself? Could a smaller group have remained on the island or met a different, more mysterious fate, while others sought a new beginning inland? The Croatoan inscription might still hold a key to the initial vanishing, while the Saponi connection represents a later chapter in the unfolding saga of the lost colony. The Saponi connection adds another layer of intrigue to the Roanoke mystery, a potential human element intertwined with the whispers of the unexplained. It suggests that the story of the lost colony might not be one of complete annihilation, but rather a complex tale of adaptation, migration, and the enduring legacy of a group of English settlers who sought to carve out a life in a new and often unforgiving world, perhaps leaving their mark on the cultural and linguistic landscape in unexpected ways. The mystery of Roanoke remains a captivating enigma precisely because it stubbornly resists simplistic, rational explanations. By considering the rich spiritual and magical tapestry of Elizabethan England and the potential, often unseen, interactions with the ancient beliefs and powerful earth energies held by the native populations, we unlock the door to far deeper and more mysterious interpretations. Roanoke is not merely a historical footnote, a failed colonial venture. It stands as a potent reminder that the ancient world, and perhaps even our own, is imbued with forces that our modern scientific paradigm does not fully comprehend, and that the veil between the seen and the unseen may be far thinner than we currently perceive. The silence of Roanoke cries out for a comprehension that transcends mere historical facts and archaeological findings. Perhaps in the very heart of this enduring enigma lies a profound lesson about the delicate interplay between cultures, the potent influence of deeply held spiritual beliefs, the possibility of forces beyond our current understanding, and the enduring resilience and adaptability of the human spirit, as hinted at by the later appearance of the Saponi. Roanoke, an enigma that compels us to look beyond the surface of recorded history and to consider the profound spiritual and magical depths that may have shaped its tragic and endlessly fascinating destiny. A destiny that may have echoed in the language and beliefs of a tribe encountered decades later, far from the shores of the lost colony. What forces, seen or unseen, human or otherwise, do you believe truly claimed the lost colony? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. If you found this exploration into the esoteric undercurrents of history compelling, don't let the mystery end here. Like this video, share it with fellow seekers, and subscribe to Esoteric Philosophy for more journeys into the hidden dimensions of our past and the profound questions that continue to echo through time. Your support fuels our quest for deeper understanding. Until our next exploration into the unknown, keep questioning.